Hey guys, Jordy from forward3dprinting.com. Today we're going to go ahead and build our X for our RebeliX type machine Prusa i3. This is video number 2, so if you see me saying video number 2, you should have done the video number 1 because we build the Y, which is the most important part where we build the machine upwards. Anyways, with that said, let's get started. Alright, so for this part, you're going to need some nail nose pliers, 8 zip ties, you're going to need NEMA 17, you're going to need another tethered pulley for the GT2 belt. You're going to need your printed parts, not that they're different. I'm using old ones, that's why I went ahead and posted one of the rods. You're going to need 2 380mm rods, which is just the profile of the Annette or any other Prusa. So if you want to use the rods from your old machine, or if you're upgrading, if you're building, this doesn't apply to you from scratch, but if you're updating your machine, you may want to use your rods. However, I always put new rods. And this particular example, I'm using these ones because, again, I'm taking a machine apart just to show you that you can also upgrade. You're going to need 416 M3s. You're going to need the Acme nuts from your machine, or that come with your NEMA 17 lead screws motors. I love doing these, isn't that fun? Anyways, there's my spinner for you guys. You're gonna need 7 LM8 UUs, and you're gonna need M3s, 20. You're gonna need 4 of them. You're gonna need 1 M3 nut, and also you're gonna need 2 623 bearings. Alright, so that's what we're gonna need for this part, and let's get started. Alright, so let's do it. First thing I want you to grab is this part, which is your idler. In your case, you guys are gonna have a hole here because that's how I designed the parts for you guys. I don't, and I'm using these parts because my daughter printed these parts, so she wanted me to use these parts. So this came out of her printer before all this mess. These are her upgrades for her own machine. So the first thing I want you to do is you're gonna grab one of those 20s, right, and the M3 nut. The very first thing is we're gonna use these 2 bearings. Okay, and you're gonna lay one bearing on top of the other one. And that's the reason we're doing these loose, right? Because if you try to do it while it's in the machine, it's such a pain. So as you can see, the 2 will align inside perfectly, side to side. Just push them in there. Grab your M2 bolt, your 20, and start pushing it through slowly. Make sure you're center. You can use a screwdriver. I'm using a file here to make sure that they're even in center. And pop that a little bit. You shouldn't be doing these. But I want to show you, so you can imagine how much harder that would be if you were trying to do it. The machine is already upright. So you align them, you push in your screw, and I didn't tell you to get the belt because we're going to use the belt when we mount the extruder. Right now, putting the belt on will just be adding more tension on the X that we don't require until we mount everything, and we make sure that everything is actually aligned. That is the wrong size key, I knew that. Haha. Just by touching it. Anyway, so you're gonna go ahead and tie this in. Make sure you got it on the other side of the threads. Grab your M3 and go ahead and put it in. If you have too much space, you can put a washer in between. I like actually leaving the belts like these, so it allows the belt, if it's not perfectly lined up, instead of riding onto the carriage, it will actually allow to ride just the side, so it's just a little easier. Anyways, so you've done that, your bearings are there, right? So now we're gonna do the next part, is the difficult part here, because your parts that design them to be a little tight in here. You can grab a wood clamp that you use to squish to come along, or you can just use your hands I guess depends on your body weight. So what I want to show you first, you're gonna grab your two parts just like these, right? Let me move this mess here out of the way for a second. You're gonna grab these two parts. So you're gonna put one rod on one and you're gonna mount the other rod in the other. So if you mounted the rod, of course, on the top on this one, you're gonna mount it on the bottom on this one, right? So I'm showing you how. So if this one is on top, you wanna mount this one on the bottom hole, right? And again, I bevel mine, so I actually like canted the edge, so I bevel it just so I can push it in easier. You don't want to scratch your part. This one is actually sort of smooth and neat because I already bevel it. So as you can see, that's how they're gonna fit, right? So once that's done, you want to go ahead and grab your motor. And here you're gonna need 320s. You're gonna add, you're gonna go ahead and add the pulley to your motor. We're gonna align it later, so don't tie it down. Just go ahead and put it in. Make sure it's in there. And we're gonna mount it onto our parts with the 320s that you have left. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and put one in for you guys, and then I'm gonna shut down the camera so you guys don't have to see me tight every single one of them. And I'll show you what it's supposed to look like when it's done. There you go. So you're gonna need to put 1, 2, 3 of the M320s that you have left. See you guys in a second. Alright, so now you mounted the motor. The reason I didn't give you direction where the connection should be is because that's up to you. Here, actually, this is out of the way. As long as it's not pointing inwards, you're fine. So it can be outwards, whatever you want it to be, again, whatever you think your wiring is going to look better. That's a personal choice. Okay, so the other reason we put in the motor is because we're going to use the motor to be able to push a little. It's going to give us a little more leverage to push the rod into the other hole. So now what I want you to do, I want you to grab some of the LM8 UUs. I need you to grab 3 of them. And what I want you to do, look at the position of the motor, right? This is where your nut is gonna go. So I want you to put 2 on the top, 1, 2, and now I want you to put 1 on the bottom. Again, beveling it makes it a lot easier to put in these things, put it into the parts, so on and so forth, right? And now you want to put them together. And this takes a little bit of force. One way to do it is you can do this very slowly. It takes a little while if you do it that way. Or you can push it again against something, or use a wood clamp. Come along and squish them together. So again, in this case, these parts are beveled, so I'm just going to use this method right here to do it on the fly. And this is what it should look like. And this is going to mount here, just like that. And again, I didn't tell you to grab the belts or anything, because we don't want to over tension these. We want it to be perfect. And usually it's going to be hard for you to cut the rods perfect to measure unless you get them cut. And sometimes they don't have enough space or too much space, and you don't want to squeeze the machine. So we want to put the belt for the X as we put the extruder. Alright, so this is pretty much all you're going to have to do here. These ones we're going to use to mount these nuts here. And I only told you to grab, I know if you have the Acme rods, that is the lead screw, they come with these ones. I don't know which ones you have or which ones you got. But we're only going to use 2 of these holes because it's going to be tight in the part, and the holes is literally just to grab it, right? So you need to put all 4. If you want to, you can. I'm not going to. But so I'm going to go ahead and mount this here in a minute for you. But the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my clamp to put this in here and show you what it's going to look like here in 1 second. I'll be right back. Alright, so now I'm gonna show you all together. This is what it looked like. I didn't pack these ones with grease. You just saw me take them out of the bag and put them direct. But you should actually always pack your bearings with grease. A little lithium grease will do actually wonders. PTFE oil. If you ever have to clean these rods, move your carriage, and then just put a little PTFE oil and wipe it off. And you'll notice there's gray when you wipe it off. Well, that's metal, because you have metal against metal. So metal against metal, one of them is gonna have to give, as simple as that. And so what happens is the rod is usually the ones that gives, because they're burning a little harder. So these ones are the ones that give, so you start getting this pattern like. So the reason you don't put like WD-40 first of all, because it's not true oil. But anyways, it's because it will pack the inside in between the bearings with all this residue, all this dust from the metal, and then it will cease some point or another. So once a week I will recommend you grab a little PTFE oil, just put a little bit on the rod, wipe the rod clean, wipe the bottom one, move them to the other side, and then just finish, right? Alright, anyways. So, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna open the rest of the bearings. And we're gonna use the rest of the bearings. Again, I'm just using them dry, but you should always pack them. This one I will pack actually, because this was part of the Z, and I like that to be super smooth. Anyways, so you're gonna need 4 for this part, and your trusty clamp. This is what I meant by come along, right? So you're gonna grab the bearings and you're gonna put them 2 on each side. I'm gonna put one in. Sometimes, again, my parts are super nice. These ones were really smooth out of the old i3, so I can just push them right in. So if you haven't clean, always clean your part, of course. But if you have anything in there, it might be a little harder. So that's just when this comes in. You just grab it like there and push it all the way in. So I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna show you what it looks like when they're all 4 in. There is a block in the center. That's the reason we haven't mounted these. Do not mount these until after you have mounted these, because if you mount these, then you'll realize that when this is mounted, your bearing won't be able to go in. So anyways, I'm gonna mount these 3 left, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so now it's ready. Oop. So this is what it's gonna look like when it's done, right? And I know what you're thinking, it's like, but Yuri, we could have pushed the parts from the other side all the way up. Nope, there's a block in the center. When you put this nut in to capture this so it won't move. Yeah, I thought of everything. Anyway, so now that these parts are in, you're gonna grab your acme nuts. You should have already, again, cleaned your parts. I would recommend you for these ones, make a little bevel with the blade. Right here, just a little, again, just enough where it starts. Now, the only reason I didn't put it on the model is because I don't know what acme nuts you have. You may have plastic ones that go in super easy, and if you make a bevel, you might actually end up like breaking them and stretching them and losing them up. And these particular ones are a little tight, so you're gonna actually have a little, use a little muscle to put them in. Again, that's why we have our trusty wood clamp, right? So I'm going to take this out of camera for a second while I line it up first. And again, don't break your parts. If you think that you're putting it in too far or something is going sideways, don't try to force it in. Just back up a little bit and start over again. It's better to do it one time properly than to end up breaking your parts. And now you're out of printers, because if you're upgrading your printer, well, you just took your printer down to build these up. So, you know, no buildy. Anyways, so you're just gonna grab your part and you're just gonna use these to move it. If it's too tight, I would recommend you to line up your holes first. In this case, I'm just using this to show you. So it's not a big deal, but you want to align the holes. It will be a whole lot easier than to try to put them the other way. So there you go. Push it all the way flush. I'm going to go ahead and do the other one, of course, off camera, and I'm going to show you what it looks like before we put our nuts, our bolts in. Alright, so this is what it's supposed to look like, and now we are going to use our... Alright. Hey guys, so remember when I said this? And again, don't break your parts. If you think that you're putting it in too far or something is going sideways, don't try to force it in. Just back up a little bit and start over again. Well, the part said some things, and I said some things, And I mean, we're okay now, but well, she's not. So there you go. See, I was actually pushing it in, and I didn't notice that it started going sideways, and I continue, and it just broke from the bottom, and then it ripped out. So it was just a small tear upwards. And then I know you're wondering, well, why didn't you just crazy glue it? Well, I 3D printed these, so me crazy gluing it sounds just a little goofy. I can just 3D print another part, which luckily I already had. So let's go back to the video. Alright, so now that you know what happened to the part and why is it black now, let's get on moving on. So now you're just gonna grab your 16s. Remember, we're only gonna use 2, and you wanna make sure, of course, you lined up the holes properly and everything. And now you're gonna put them from the bottom, and you wanna move up. The actual part, the actual nuts should be already threaded if you got the same type of Acme ones that I got. So again, you just want to make sure it's lined. I'm going to go ahead and align it. I'm going to align it in camera for you. I'm using channel locks. These ones are old. Usually what I would use is a little prong tool that I made. But anyways, so let's go ahead and tighten the screw. And again, as I say, it's got threads on the part, and it belongs to an M3. That is actually not the part being tied, it's actually the screw, because I'm entering from the other side, so I might be rubbing against the part itself, the plastic part. So I'm going to finish putting this in so you see how it goes, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like when you put it in. You want to use this one, this one, this one, and this one. If you try to use the one on the inside, I actually build it that way because I wanted to put M2 screws just to hold the part with knots, but then I realized that just using the M3 threaded part already and the M3 would be a lot easier for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this and show you when it's finished. Alright, so let's get on with it. You're going to grab your carriage, and you're going to, the flat part of it, the end of it, it's going to go towards your pulley, right? And one in the bottom. So what you do, I'm going to flip it over so you can see. You see 2 on them. Make sure that they're well seated though. That's the only thing, because if not, you might be cockeyed when you finish the whole thing. So you want to make sure it's not sideways. So now you want to grab it and you want to snap it in, right? Make sure again it drops in. You see, it has a little plane there, so that's just enough room for the actual bearings just to go in there. So now you want to grab one of your I'm sorry, I've washed my hands. So now you want to grab one of your zip ties, and your zip ties should actually just be fed right here, and you'll see it, they'll come out of the other side. You see? That's the design. The design actually, even 3D prints, the hole is already there. So you're going to grab your zip tie, and you're going to tie it up the zip tie, right? Don't worry about putting them too tight right now, just put them there snug enough. We'll tie them up in a minute. Alright. So, the ones on the bottom, you start from this side, from the bottom. The ones on the top, you start from the bottom. The ones from the bottom, you start from the top. Right? I guess I have extra zip ties now. I thought it was going to be 8, that happens to be 12. You're gonna need more zip ties, so just go ahead and hold on to that. I'm sorry, I meant 6. So instead of 8, you're gonna need 6. And remember the ones on the bottom from the top. This is what it's supposed to look like before you put it on, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and tie these down and show you what it looks like. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, so now this is where the needle nose comes in. Now that they're all tied up, snuggish, you're gonna grab it. Don't squeeze too hard. Just make sure that you're keeping pressure enough to keep it grabbed, not squeeze, because if you squeeze too hard, what's gonna happen is when you twist, it's gonna snap, right? And so you wanna just grab it and pull. Just twist, and then you see it snap. But now it snapped when I was tied, so I don't mind that one. And then you're gonna push these all the way in, and then you're going to do the same to the other ones. You hear a click, once it's actually tied up, again, you can even just go ahead and snap it if you want to. But make sure that they're tied up first. So again, I would rather use nips. It's like I'm sort of good at doing this one. And you want to put them right there flush. Also, you want to do the same to these. You want to tie them up by twisting. Remember not to do it, not to tie up your hand. I say not to break the zip tie until you're sure that it's well tied. And now you can just snap it, right? Sometimes when you do that, you might just snap it out and you're going to have to put another one. So make sure you have extra ones around. And since I told you to get 8, you should have 2 extra ones. You push down, come here, snap it, push it back, slide it down, you come here, you snap it, you push it down. Again, remember you want to flush as close as you can. So I'm almost done tightening it up. That's ripped up, and there it goes. And there you have it. This is all we need to do for the X right now. After the Z, we'll mount our extruder in it, but in the meanwhile, we're done with our X, and once we put our extruder, we can put in our belt and tighten our machine down, make sure it's... Alright, so now that we have mounted our carriage, now we're going to mount our end stop. Notice that I didn't make any holes because I'm not making the assumption that you have the exact same end stop. So you're going to have to make little holes there. You want to grab a 1.5 millimeters drill bit, right? And you want to grab anything sharp or a pencil. If you have a mechanical pencil, the lead of a mechanical pencil probably will be better just to mark it. If not, you can just grab the drill bit and just mark it with it. But anyways, what I want you to do is I want you to line it up in the center of the print, right? And you want to put it all the way against the edge of the motor carrier. And you want to make sure that the button, and by the button I mean the button that actually is pressed as you move the lever on the switch. And I'm going actually to remove the lever, right, for you. Since I don't like leaving the levers, I don't know if you do, that's up to you. But I want you to put the switch, the button is going to go on the side of the Acme nut, right? It's going to go on this side. And that's because this little part hits the button. And that's your end stop. Right there, that's where I want your end stop, right? So again, you're going to make sure that it's hitting, and then what you want to do is you want to grab something to mark it. Again, I already marked mine with pencil, but I'm going to use these just to do a little hole just to show you how you can do that. And there it is, the hole is in the exact same place, right? Now you want to grab your drill bit. I don't know what kind of chuck you have. My chuck allows me to put the drill bit, the bit, a little farther in, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to leave about that much of the thread of the screw lead, right? So I don't want to go through and end up hitting the rod and breaking my drill or my bit. So here we go. Now that it's tied up, oh, look at that. Need a new chuck. Never mind. I guess I'm gonna have to do the old-fashioned way with my hand. So while I do make these holes, I'll show you what it looks like here when we're done. Once you have done making the holes, you're going to just grab the 2mm, the 2 M2s, the screws that I asked you to get, and you're just going to put them right there and just mount them against the plastic, right? And that's where the end stop is going to go. Again, none of my thing is wired because I want you to be able to see. Your stuff should be wired. Unless your motors have a plug like mine that you just, plug it up. Anyways, let's go ahead and move to our Z. We'll come back, before I go to the Z, I'll come back and I'll show you what this looks like and what it's supposed to sound like, and then we'll move to our Z, okay? So give me 1 second. Alrighty, so now it's mounted. This is what it's supposed to look like. Remember your wiring coming from the back, and the little red button, or whatever button color it is going to have to be on the side of your Acme rod nut. So yeah, I hope you don't have a hard time putting these in. Again, I would have made measurements if they were all the same, but every end stop I encountered is different. And again, I want to see if maybe you can hear. That's what's going to trigger your end stop, right? So just make sure, again, the button is on this side. If not, you're going to run into trouble. Anyways, so let's go ahead and move on to the Z. See you guys in a minute. Alright, so you can hear the printer on the background. Check that out, it's my printer. But anyways, so we're done with the X. We're moving on to the Z. As always, whatever you do, work it out with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for your human masters. And I see you at